this is Mick Burgess, and I'm now joined backstage at the Clooney with guitarist Earl Slick. Earl, how are you doing?
I'm good. We're outside, and it's sunny.
It's lovely, isn't it?
Nothing to complain about.
Absolutely lovely. You've just started the second leg of your UK tour with Glen Matlock. How's it been going so far?
So far, it's been great. The hardest part was the week off.
Yeah. So you're on the beginning of the second leg?
Yeah.
So when did you and Glen Matlock first hook up together?
You know, we hooked up together through a mutual friend who's a clothing designer and also a singer. He's a Brit, another Brit. I'm always getting followed around by Brits. Named Keenan Duffy. And he introduced me to Glen around 2007 or so.
Yeah.
And myself, Glen, Keenan on vocals, Glen playing bass actually, and Clem Burke. Blondie, right? And we had a band called Slinky Vagabond. We recorded some tracks. We did a few gigs around the New York City area, but we really couldn't continue it because me and Keenan were in New York, Glen was in London, and Clem was on the West Coast.
Yeah.
And we all had commitments in it, but we had a blast.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we did it because now, the relationship with Glen has kind of, developed over the last 12 years.
Yeah. So what material are you playing on the tour? Are you playing more of Glen's stuff, or are you going to chuck in a few of your stuff?
We're doing Glen's stuff. He's the gub. We do his stuff. And, as far as it being a Pistols thing, that's not what it's about.
Yeah. It's promoting his new album.
Which I played on.
Indeed.
Yes.
With Slim Jim Phantom as well.
Yes, Slim Jim played as well.
Now I'll come to that name a little bit later, because you get to play the Cavern Club in a couple of days' time in early June. You must be looking forward to that.
Hell yeah! They have been so good to me. John Keats and Victoria and the whole crew down there, because I've done a number of events for them. And I'm actually getting my brick in the wall.
Oh, right.
Yes,
Yeah.
And there's an empty spot. Last time I was there, right next to Mick Ronson's brick, and that's the spot
very
I want.
apt.
So I think we're going to be hopefully doing it when I'm up there this time.
Yeah. So you play on Glen's latest solo album, Good to Go. I mean, were you there in a sort of session capacity, and do you hope that it sort of grows into a sort of band thing?
You know what? We didn't discuss anything. Glen just said, you want to record? I got some new songs. And that's what we did. And we did it at a studio in upstate New York in Rhinebeck, which is 100 miles maybe north of New York City. It's a great studio.
Yeah.
It's got an old farmhouse that's been converted into like a 5-bedroom house. It's really nice. Really great studio. Private. And really, it was great. So I suggested that we use that. And that's where we did a lot of the recording.
Yeah. Your first real big break came when you played with David Bowie, of course.
That was the first big break.
Yeah.
I had mini ones before that, because all the mini ones lead to the big one.
Absolutely. So how did you come to his attention at that point? Did he see you in the club or something?
No. This came about through. It's everything in life is a series of events. It's not like one thing causes the big one. Once in a while.
Yeah.
But I was playing around, this is really funny, I was playing around Staten Island a lot. My dad moved me there when I was about 13 years old from Brooklyn, and I hated it. So the guitar was my salvation to deal with this place. And I got good enough to be in bands and so on and so forth, and I started playing around a lot. And I met a guy named Michael Kamen.
Is he the orchestral guy? Michael Kamen, the conductor?
Yes, the conductor. He's done scores for movies. He had a band called the New York Rock and Roll Ensemble way back, and I met him through one of my local buddies named Hank DeVito, who thought he was a cowboy, and Italian guy that dressed in cowboy boots and a cowboy hat, and he played pedal steel and Telecaster.
Great.
And he went on to write some major big hits in Nashville, really big ones for big artists. Anyway, he was friends with Michael, and he worked with Michael, and I met Michael through him.
Yeah.
And Michael took an interest in me and helped me and my band, got a studio time and produced some demos. And then Michael started using me once in a while on a session here or there. The first one was with Dr. John, some of the Nevilles as well.
Yeah, Neville's from the Meters.
The
Neville Brothers, yeah.
The Nevilles, yeah. And that was, like, I say, the first time I was really in the studio with, like, some big-time guys. So Michael more or less took me under his wing. And I got fed up with what I was doing on Staten Island. The only way to make money at that point, they got very strict about the club scene, because we used to be able to play 5 nights a week. And to make money, they wanted more and more of really schmaltzy top 10 shit pop singles. And I'd had it. So I asked Hank to talk to Michael, because I was a little embarrassed. I said, look, maybe you could use him like a guitar player in the band, because he had a solo band after that, which included David Sanborn on sax, Dennis Whitted from Paul Butterfield's band. I mean, these guys were the top guys around. And he didn't need a guitarist.
I'm going to stop.
But he needed a roadie.
Yeah.
He said, well, I don't need a guitarist, but I'll let you carry gear. I said, fine. Because I knew they were like touring like for real. They were on airplanes. They were touring like a pro band, because they were. And I did that. I was a smart little bugger. I brought my SG with me at every sound check when I was setting up, and I jammed with the band. And then one day, David Sanborn just looked over to Mike and says, why isn't he playing in the band? Mike goes, you want to play in the band? I said, yeah. He said, okay, you're in the band, but you're still going to carry the gear.
Yeah, fair enough.
I said, fine. Anyway, as time went on, I worked with Michael on a number of projects, and he wrote some music for the Joffrey Ballet in New York City. Bowie went to the ballet, wanted to meet the guy who scored the music. Met Michael. Mick Ronson had just left the band. They needed a guitarist, and then Bowie mentioned to Michael, he said, do you know, I need a new, fresh, young guy. And Michael instantly gave him my name. And that's how the hookup happened.
You were pretty well prepared to step into Mick Ronson's shoes by that time. Did you feel confident, or was it quite a daunting task?
No, what was weird about it was I was playing with one of my bands, the one that used to get kicked out of everywhere, a lot of blues. I mean, that's my, and I still, when I'm home, I mean, it's blues all the time. I live and breathe it. I mean, I do a lot of sitting in with Buddy Guy when I'm home.
Oh, right. Oh, brilliant.
And so I really wasn't terribly familiar with Bowie. I had Aladdin Sane because I heard Panic in Detroit. Bo Diddley beat, right? There it goes again. So, and I loved the guitar on the record.
Yeah.
It got my attention. So that was the only Bowie record I had. So when I did the audition with Bowie, my only concern was, and because I got the gig instantly on the day after they called me. To come and say, well, David is interested in you joining up. Well, you knew it. I said, yeah. So I went up and we had a meeting and stuff. And one of the first things I asked him was, do you need me to do Mick Ronson parts verbatim? I said, because I still can't. I can't process another guitar player's parts verbatim. I could mimic somebody if I have to, but I cannot he said, no. He said, I hired you because I like the way you play, so do your take on it.
Yeah, because you spent time on the Diamond Dogs too, didn't you? So how did the playing live prepare you for going into the studio to do the Young Americans album?
It really didn't, because the Young Americans album, because the first album we did was the live album.
Yes.
At Tower, with just me on guitar. It really didn't prepare me, mainly because I didn't really play a lot. I'm on almost every track on the record, but I'm playing really just sort of little rhythm parts here and there. That's really a Carlos Alomar record, you know, because of the nature of what it is. Like on Fame, me and Lennon are playing that big fat part on the bottom. I think I played acoustic guitar on the title track, you know, bits like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the only preparation I think that helped was the fact that at that point we'd been on the road enough, so I knew how David operated. That was really that was helpful.
Was he a tough taskmaster then in the studio?
Hell no.
Was he pretty relaxed?
Piece of cake.
Yeah.
One of the easiest guys I've ever worked with in my life.
So did he bring the ideas into the studio and say, this is what I want? Did he sort of direct you in that way, or did he give you sort of some creative freedom to
on the Young Americans record? He had a concept in mind, and he just threw the songs at us. And knowing what he wanted, I could see that, you know, Carlos should really be the main guy. So I just was trying to complement what he was doing. But there wasn't like, David did not dictate what to play.
You made a second album, Station to Station, with him.
Yeah.
And then that was about, you'd been with him 3 years, and then you left at that point.
Yeah. So, and it's a shame, too, because Station is my favorite record I've done with David. And after we did the basic tracks, I did all the guitar overdubs myself with David there, and some of them he did with me. And that record, we did a lot of experimenting, and it was really cool. And then some business stuff went haywire that actually had nothing to do with me and David. And I left, and it wasn't until 8 years later or something, 1983,
Let's Dance
when I did the Let's Dance tour, that Stevie Ray Vaughan was removed. And that was the thing about David. He had a pair on him because he literally fires a guitar player 2 days before dress rehearsals.
Yeah.
After rehearsing with the guy for a month.
Stevie Ray. Stevie Ray didn't leave.
No, he was fired.
She wants a young American. Young American. She wants the young American. All night. But she wants the young American.
Anyway, long story short, when we did that Let's Dance tour, Serious Moonlight tour actually, I literally got a call that I needed to be in Belgium like the next day, and I was in Los Angeles. So I flew in, and as soon as I got in, we only had 3 or 4 days. No, we had 4 days or so, 2 of which I was just 24 hours a day went through the material to remember the old stuff and learn the new stuff. But David came to my room as soon as I got off the plane and got to my hotel, said hi, we were glad to see each other, and we both almost at the same time said, we need to clear some things up before we start this, because we're going to be on the road for a long time. So we went out, we had a chat, he told me his part, I told him my part, and then we got to the bottom of the fact that we got played.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would have been there, and my biggest regret, I didn't get to play on Love.
Yeah.
And the fact that it even happened. So, you know, we straightened it out.
Soon you were the go-to guitarist that he came back to.
Yep. Every time the house is burning down, I was there with the hose.
And even probably more impressive that is that you got to play with John Lennon on the Double Fantasy album as well. So, I mean, that must be pretty much the pinnacle of your career, thinking, grief, I played with one of the Beatles on the classic album. So how did you start working with?
It's another weird one. My manager, I had just signed a contract with Columbia and this band I had, and my manager gets a phone call from Jack Douglas, who co-produced the record with John and Yoko, about doing this album, and he wouldn't tell her who it was. He said, it's a big artist, so I've got to be quiet. So I'm itching and going, okay, what the hell is this? Finally, I started thinking about it. Who could be that big that Jack couldn't say? And I said, and who has Jack worked with before? And I went, wait a minute. Lennon's been disappeared for at least about 4 or 5 years now.
So you had sort of ruled out Aerosmith and Cheap Trick at that point?
Yeah, the first thing I thought was Aerosmith, actually. Yeah. Nope, they're whatever's going on there, nope, that's not it. And I came up with it, and the next phone call, I said to my manager, when Jack calls, just say John Lennon and see how he reacts. And apparently she did, and there was just silence on the other side, and then we knew.
But how was that experience? And I mean, and were you disappointed that you didn't? Obviously, events overtook matters when he was killed. So you never got the chance to tour. I mean, were you intending on going out and tour?
Oh yeah. We had planned everything out that January of '81, right, which would have been like 3 or 4 weeks after he was killed. We were going to go back in and work on the rest of the tracks, the leftover ones, because Double Fan EUC was already out and charting. And the rest of the tracks, which eventually became Milk and Honey, we were going to go in and finish those up, get that ready for release, and then go on the road. And my band would be on hiatus, and they would be supported by my record company, because having me out with Lennon right before my record was released would have been a coup for them.
Absolutely. Earlier this year, you did the Celebrating Bowie tour with Carmine Rojas and Bernard Fowler and a whole host of guests. That looks like it was a lot of fun to be involved in.
It was, especially after we made a few changes and I brought Charlie Sexton in to play guitar with me at the American leg with 2 months. And Bernard Fowler I brought in from day one because we had worked together and met at this Rolling Stones event at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame a while back.
Great singer as well.
And my son has played drums on the tour as well. And the backing singers, one of them is my son's girlfriend, the other one's her brother, and they have a band of their own. So, I had all my mates up there with me, and that last leg was really good.
Yeah. Are you hoping to continue this?
No. I mean, I think that's it's kind of run its course. I mean, Dave's been gone 3.5 years, right? You can only do a tour like that maybe once every 9 months to once a year. Yeah. And I don't really see any reason for me to continue doing it.
Between one of these stints with Bowie, you did the Phantom Rocker and Slick album with Lee Rocker and Slim Jim Phantom, who you've just done the Glen Matlock album with. How did that collaboration come about?
That's another one of them weird things. I just got off the road and I went to the NAMM convention in Los Angeles, which is a big music trade show. And you go see your endorsement people and you sign autographs, all that stuff. And their tour manager came over to me and said, "Oh, Slim Jim and Lee from the Stray Cats are here. I never met them." So they want to say hi. So I went and said hi. As it turns out, the Cats had broken up maybe 6 months earlier, and they put a band together, and they were having a hard time finding the right guitar player. So they said, "You interested?" I said, "Yeah. I mean, let's get a room and play for 3 or 4 days and see what it feels like." And it felt great, so we did it.
Yeah, and you got Keith Richards in as well to play on My Mistake.
Yep.
So how did you rope him in?
That's a weird one too, because when they were mixing the Phantom Rocker and Slick record in New York, I was in LA. I had my ticket booked to go to New York. the night before, I got a phone call from the producer, Steve Thompson, saying Bowie and Jagger just did a cover of Dancing in the Streets for Live Aid. And Jagger's not very happy with the guitar work on it. He wants you to come and do it. I said, fine, I'm coming in tomorrow. And he says, well, he really wants you here first thing in the morning. I said, I don't really see the difference, you know. I mean, you know, I get in tomorrow evening. No, you have to get a red eye. It means I would get in at 6 in the morning. He said, hold on. Then Jagger gets on the phone, and I couldn't say no, right? Yeah. So I took the red eye, got in, did the track. As it turns out, the reason he wanted to be in was because it was his birthday that day. And so he invited me to his birthday party when we were working on the track. I went to the party. I ran into Keith. I started talking to Keith, and I said, you know what? We're mixing a record, and I got a track that's got your name written all over it. Will you do it? Instant yes.
Yeah, just like that. We saw you on UK television just before Christmas doing your documentary about Sidemen. It was a fascinating documentary. Bernard Fowler was on there. Stevie Salas and yourself. Who came up with the idea to do that sort of?
That was my idea. Yeah. As a matter of fact, it was supposed to be a book originally, and I did the Meltdown Festival. Yoko had me come in because she wanted to do Double Fantasy live. Actually, I'm the only guy she called from the original band, so there was a Brit backup band, and then a number of guest singers and so on. And they offered me my own day, and I was supposed to do something with a singer friend of mine, but he couldn't make it. And so we're going, God, we got this room. What are we going to do with it? My manager put together a big slideshow and stuff, and she said, why don't we have you do a chat with an audience about your book, which was all about the Sideman thing. And it went down great. As it turned out, Francis Waitley, who's a director, producer for the BBC, he's their best guy, in my opinion. He had done the 5 Years movie, Bowie movie, and he was there and saw my thing, and he said, that's not a book, it's a movie. And eventually, we put it together as a movie, and the premise of the movie, you know, it's about the reality of being a high-profile sideman. And so I, along with Francis, came up with a list of people that we thought would be key, and Steve Cropper being very much needed for the movie, agreed to do it. We got interviews out of Mick, Keith, Ronnie, Charlie. You know, my mate Bernard was in the movie a lot. The Stones gave us some footage. We got the Prince girls in there. We got all the right, and everybody was. The thing about the movie that I've gotten feedback about is that everybody was speaking really honestly because we asked them to.
Yes.
And we're not saying, you know, dirty, like you're pissed about this or that. Just tell people what it's like to be the sideman, the real part of it. And if you've seen the movie, you got the point.
Really enjoyed it.
So that was my concept, and Francis had the mindset on how to glue it together.
So just looking forward to the future. Have you got any more documentaries lined up, or what's your next musical step?
The musical stuff right now, basically, is I'm working with Glen a lot, and I'm kind of looking around at a few people. Me and Fowler will be doing some stuff on our own. Me and Charlie Sexton have actually bounced around the idea because I think I'm going to be going down to Austin in the summer for a week and writing with Charlie. So, you know, something more of me.
Yeah. So plenty to look forward to.
Yeah, I mean, because the Bowie thing, I can't do it for the rest of my life. He's not here anymore. And I think we've given the public a good 3 years of it. And
it's time to concentrate on you.
Exactly.
Indeed.
It's Earl Slick time.
Well, Earl, thank you very much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure. Best luck with the show tonight and the rest of the tour.
Great, thank you.